Hi everyone, welcome to the Dave's World YouTube channel. So I had a lot of people contact me because they wanted the parts that I was making for Gen 1 and Gen 2 Cruzes, so I decided to start a website called supercruises.com.
Hi everybody, I decided to shoot a video late in the day. I know it's starting to get dark out, but I thought this video was kind of important. I have a PCV rear out for the Gen 2 that basically does a few things. One thing it does is fix the intake gurgle noise. The other thing it does is during the winter you get a lot of moisture in your fuel, and during the summer you get a lot of oil in your PCV system.
So without a catch can, you pretty much get oil and moisture constantly cycling through your intake system, your intercooler, pulled through your turbo, clogging up your throttle body, gunking up your spark plugs. I mean, here's an example of an intake that didn't even have a catch can in it.
And then what it also does is reroute the PCV. So let me get this engine cover off the car real quick. Once I get the engine cover off, I'll show you how it's installed. The reason I decided to make this video is looking at this diverter. This came off a friend's car that was having problems, so I asked him to send the diverter to me. He does not have a catch can assembly on his car, but his diverter kept giving him issues. If you look close, this diverter is really shiny because it's actually coated in oil.
So I'm pausing the video for a second here because one thing I forgot to mention when I was filming is this is a diverter, but this is the inside of a diverter, not the part that actually moves. This is the inside electronic part that moves the plunger. Oil was able to make it through the mechanical side into the inside of the electronic part, which is why the car was having problems.
Here's why this thing's coated in oil. If you have an OEM PCV system still set up, you have a couple hoses that get routed into the intake and up to this part of the turbocharger. When you install my PCV reroute, what it does is reroute everything from this line and this line into the catch canister. You're able to open up the canister, drain it, and then instead of oil getting into the intake system, it gets caught here. The other thing it's doing is instead of this line going straight to here, we're cutting the line and routing it to the can as well. That way all the oil that gets introduced directly into the turbo doesn't go to the turbo, it goes back into the can, which again is why you want to be able to drain this.
I also wanted to show everybody that I have a version of the PCV reroute that works when you have a factory air box that mounts the can in the back on the strut tower housing on an existing hole, and the can it's still in that quick release cup, so it has very easy draining.
The reason why this is important is the catch can basically is catching all that debris. When it's not catching that debris, you end up getting problems like this diverter getting coated in oil. And I'll show you basically why and where that happens. Your air gets pulled into the turbo through the inlet side of the turbo. The oil gets pulled into the turbo through the inlet and this portion of the turbo. Underneath the turbocharger, when this thing pressurizes, it pushes oil out. So all this oil that gets sucked in pushes out, and when the car is relieving its boost pressure, this diverter opens up, and when it opens up, it lets the air out. The problem is when it's loaded with oil, it starts getting messed up. So basically the catch can reroute and the catch canister are stopping this from happening. So what happens over time is, even though this oil is a lubrication, when the oil starts to dry, it becomes something that'll bind the diverter up. So you get a sticking diverter, you get a diverter that's stuck open, you get a diverter that's stuck closed, you get a diverter that doesn't function properly. Sometimes there's so much debris that when the diverter opens, you actually start hearing noises because it's hearing like all these different noises like gurgling and stuff like that. That's why I came up with this reroute. The other thing it does is it prevents all of this from going into the intercooler system. So when it's in the intercooler system, it actually starts clogging up the intercooler, gunking up the valves, gunking up the throttle body. I mean, there's a whole host of problems with basically problems that you have with the car where if you don't have this reroute, you start having like maintenance issues. So that's why the reroute exists, and this is another reason that I wanted to let everybody know in this video that basically it's important to do. And the other thing I started realizing is, for example, these lines are all under boost pressure. So when you have all that debris going into the system without having the catch can in place, your wastegate is actually getting all of that oil pushed into the wastegate. So then you start having problems with your wastegate, you start having problems with your spark plugs. I mean, there's a whole host of issues, like I just said.
Here's footage of an intercooler that has so much oil going through it that it's actually leaking at where the pipe meets the intercooler core.
So the reason why I made this video, I felt like it was important. I don't normally do them quick like this, but I wanted to get this video out so I could let people know. And I wanted you guys to see the new version of the kit, because the new version of the kit is pretty simple to install. I literally pre-build everything. So once you mount the cup right here next to your air intake, the can sits right in place. You can take it off and drain it every month, sometimes every couple months. I have another version that mounts the can back there. That's why I have that cup sitting back there, so I could show people where that goes. This is a really simple install as well, and the lines will route this way next to the air box. And this is really simple. I pre-build everything. All you have to do is cut this hose here and here. And pop this in place and remove the hose from here to the box. And pop that in place and you're done. The kit is a really nice kit. It comes pre-assembled. You just have to make 2 modifications to the car and just install the cup and you're good to go, and it starts working immediately. I have a lot of people that constantly contact me. It's funny because within a week they'll open the can and see oil in there, and then they'll think something's wrong. But what I tell them is, no, the can's working. Like, you're actually catching what was normally dumped into the engine. Now it's catching it in the can, and you get to dispose of it instead of actually having your engine eat it and messing stuff up. It's a really great kit. You can get it in a bunch of custom designs, a bunch of custom colors. You can pretty much put anything you want on it. When you order, there's a spot where you could literally just choose, you know, do you want something custom not listed? Just put down whatever you want. I like making them as custom as possible, and I can match them to the hood struts. I can match them to the wastegate. I can match it to the engine cover. Like, for picture reasons, I started matching this to some of the other stuff under the hood. Unfortunately, my car's starting to look like it's Superman colors, but it's still some cool stuff that I wanted to show people that I could do.